President, please be seated. The court is back in session and the floor is given to the defense team for Mr. Nguyen Chia first to put questions to this civil party. You may now proceed. Lawyer, thank you, Mr. President. Madam Civil Party, the first batch of my questions have something to do with the evacuation of you from Kose. Before 1975, how many families were living on that Kose or Seh Island? Answer. About 50 families were living on that island, including the soldiers. Question. Were they all Vietnamese, or were there some other ethnicity as well living on that island? Answer. There were different types of people. There were ethnic Khmer, Vietnamese, and Chinese on that island. Question. How many Vietnamese families were living on that island? Answer. I do not know, Mr. Lawyer. My siblings-in-law were also living on that island. Question. Were all of the people there on the island evacuated, or only Vietnamese were evacuated? Answer. All of us had been sent out of that island. If we refused to leave, we would be shot dead and thrown into the water. So we had to leave for Srai Cham, all of us. Lawyer, I have a question in relation to Churun, and his wife was Pon. So how was he related to you? Answer. He was living in a nearby house in Srai Cham. We were in the same unit. Lawyer, to refresh your memory, I would like to cite a document E3/4544 Khmer 03. My apology, 00375532. French 00424096, and English 00377836. This is your testimony. You stated, I quote, at the evening they did not return back from work. At that time, they did not return back from work yet, so I went to my uncle's house, Jun's house. Pre-translation. So what do you mean by this statement? Answer. I As I said, that uncle was living in a nearby house. He was living close to my mother's house. Question. You have just stated that you had an aunt. So how was she related to you? Answer. Aunt Pon was the wife of Jurun. She lived close to my mother's house. Question. Besides your parents, rather, did your parents have siblings living in the democratic Cambodia? Answer. My mother had relatives living in Vietnam, and as for my father, some of his relatives had died in small Saw, and not and until and now, his relatives, all of his relatives, passed away. Question. To your observation, particularly on the people who used to live with you in Koseh and after that in Srai Cham village, Srai Cham commune, Prainop district. How many of them were Vietnamese? President, please observe the microphone, Madam Civil Party. Please wait until the red light turned on, then you can give your answer. Civil Party. 4 or 5 families were ethnically Vietnamese. My cousin's family, my relatives, elder relatives, and also my families were Vietnamese, and some of those people had been killed. Some went to live somewhere else. We are not living together, and we did not live together at that time as well. Lawyer, I am now asking about your younger sibling. You stated that your younger sibling lived in a different mobile unit. The name was Kung Keng. Can you tell the court why she was sent to the free unit, the so-called free unit? Answer. She was living close to my location at the time. It was about 200 meters away. We were living in a nearby location. Although we had tried to work very hard, my elder sibling was accused of having a free mind. He or she was sent to a free unit, and I believe that he died there. Beside the younger sibling, were there any other Khmer people sent to that so-called free unit, if you know? Answer. Many people had been sent to that unit, including Cham people, Vietnamese, and Chinese people. Those who were considered having free mind would be sent to that unit. Question. What did people in that so-called free unit do? Answer. They were assigned to grow sweet potatoes and dig canals, and they were headed by the chief. So they were engaged in those tasks. Although they had watery gruel or porridge, or they did not have enough food to eat, they had to go to work. Question. Did you ever notice that after those people had been sent into the pre-unit, and after they had refreshed themselves, would be sent back to their previous unit? Answer. All I know is that after they had been sent into pre-unit, they died. You can ask other elderly people about that so-called pre-unit. Question. So, was it because your younger sibling walked freely at that time he was sent into that pre-unit? Was it not because of the fact that he was an ethnically Vietnamese? Answer. The Khmer Rouge was brutal and cruel. No matter how active we were, how hard we worked, it was up to them to decide and put us in the whatever unit or the so-called pre-units they wanted. Question. Now I am asking about you. You were in a mobile unit. Were there any children working in that unit, in the mobile unit, and those children belong to Vietnamese parents? Answer. I do not know about that. There was a child belong to a Vietnamese woman. The parents had been sent away to be killed, and that child was sent away and killed later on. That person was working in a 100-man unit with me, 100-woman unit with me. Question. After you had returned to Srai Cham to visit your parents, did you happen to meet the cadres or chiefs of cooperatives at the time? Answer. When I filed a request to visit my parents, I did not meet any chief of units. Question. Did your unit chief know that you had a Vietnamese mother? Answer. I did not tell him about that fact. I was trying to perform my tasks. I was so bony and skinny, so I did not dare to tell him about my background, that I had a Vietnamese mother. Whether he knew that I had a Vietnamese mother or not, I do not know. Question. Did that unit chief come from the same village, Srai Cham, or he was from a different village? Answer. Most of them came from Srai Ambal in Koh Khong. Lawyer, I am moving now to your father. You asserted that your father was ethnically Chinese. Were Chinese minorities arrested and received the same fate as your father? Answer. Chinese and Khmer people had been sent away as well. The Khmer people with Chinese ancestor would also be sent away. Question. Concerning the families who had been transferred out of Koseh, and some of them were Vietnamese, as you said. Did any of those people survive the regime after 1979? President, please observe the microphone, Madam Civil Party, before you speak. Answer. After 1979, I went to Vietnam. My uncle or aunt talked to me that if I still lived in Cambodia, I would be in the same situation when it happened in Pol Pot time. So I was encouraged to go back to live in Vietnam. My relatives and siblings were killed in Khmer Rouge time. Lawyer, a while ago you stated that you at one time wept when you heard that your younger sibling died. And you also stated that you were encouraged by villagers and your co-workers that you had to try to speak more clearly to be like Khmer people. So who encouraged you to do that? Answer. The co-workers, my co-workers, felt a pity on me, and they talked to me that I should not cry any longer, but I had to try to work hard. And they said that the child of a Vietnamese woman working in the 100 woman unit was trying so hard to work, although that child knew that the parents had been sent away and killed. No matter how they explained and consoled me, I kept weeping. Question. Concerning the people who encouraged you to speak more like my people, were those people chiefs of units and chiefs of mobile units, or were they simply workers in those units? Answer. They were my co-workers. Question. Earlier, you have stated that you have been through bad experience, and your husband died. But could you clarify it for the court whether your husband died in the Democratic Cambodia regime, or he died later on after that regime? Answer. He was born in the year of dragon. He passed away when he was 56, so it almost 10 years, or it was more than 10 years ago. I can recall that he passed away when he was 56. So after he passed away, I feel more pain in my heart. Question. Was he Khmer, pure Khmer, or was he ethnically Vietnamese? Answer. My husband was half-blooded Chinese. Question. Did he have a mixed blood of Vietnamese? Answer. No. Lawyer. I am moving now to a new topic in relation to your mobile unit. To your assertion, there were Khmer workers, and you were in that mobile unit, and you were Vietnamese together with another Vietnamese person. I would like to know about the food ration for Khmer and Vietnamese people. Was food provided in the same equal amount to Khmer and Vietnamese people? Answer. Chiefs of units could eat at their field. For workers like me and others, after we returned from work, we could have only a ladle of porridge or soft rice. Sometimes we could have salts to eat with the meal, rice and gruel. Thanks for the tricks that we use to hide the salt. Question. Did they do the same job as you did at the time? Answer. Unit chiefs accompanied us, all of us, to work, and after they had returned to their locations from work, they were in a different group having meal, and we were in a different group, or in different groups having meal with salt, and we consider those the salt as fish. Lawyer. I am not asking about the unit chief. I am asking about your co-workers. What about their working condition and food ration? Did they receive the same food ration as you? Answer. My co-workers received the same food. If I received porridge or soft rice, they had the same meal. For example, a ladle of rice. If they receive a ladle of rice or porridge, I also had the same amount. Question. In your answer, you were requested to get married and you refused. So what happened after you refused the marriage, and who was the one who asked you to get married? Answer. It was my unit chief who asked me to get married. And at the time I said I was not mature yet, so I did not want to get married. I was asked to get married, and others in my units were also asked to get married. Some couples, after they had married, did not get along with each other, so these people had been sent away and killed. Question. You stated that you refused the marriage after you were asked to get married. So what did they do to you after you refused the marriage? Or nothing happened to you, although you refused the marriage? Answer. After that, because of my refusal, my unit chief asked me to go to Tanay with a few others, 4 or 5 of them. We had earth carrying baskets with us to carry earth. I was so terrified at that time. Question. You stated that a few other 4 or 5 went with you to Tanay. Were they sent to that location because they refused the marriage as you did? Answer. At one particular time, I saw 4 or 5 couples had been taken out. Question. After you, together with other 4 or 5 people, had been sent to Tanay to work and make the baskets, what happened next? Answer. I do not know. Nothing happened. And a few days later, sometimes later, I heard that some couples, after their marriage, had been sent away and killed because they did not get along with each other. Lawyer, I did not ask about that point. I want to know what happened next after you and others, 4 or 5, had been sent to Tanay to make the baskets. Did you come back to your mobile unit? Answer. I did not say that I received disciplinary sanction. I, together with 4 or 5 others, were sent to Tanay to make baskets. Lawyer, my apology. So you did not receive a disciplinary sanction, but you were reassigned to a location called Tanay to work. Is that correct? Answer. Yes, that is correct. I want to make a clarification with you. You stated that you had no uncle or aunt staying with you at that time, but at a document at EON in Khmer 00 37 55 33 and French 00 42 40 97, English 00 37 78 36. In question and answer, you stated, I lived and worked in a mobile unit in Prey Nop until the arrival of Vietnamese troops. At that time, unit chief forced us to go and climb up the mountain, but I refused, and I escaped. I ran back to Srai Jam to gather to join the group with my aunt. So what do you mean by saying you came back to join with your aunt? What do you mean by the word aunt? Answer. addressed that person as aunt since she used to live in a nearby location in Srajam. After 1979, when the Vietnamese troops liberated us, she went back to Srajam. Question: was she related to you? Answer: she used to live in the same village with my parents, and I do not know where she was living in Pol Pot time. In 1979, I encountered her, so I came back with her to settle. Question: was she ethnically Vietnamese? Answer: she was half-blooded Chinese. Lawyer: thank you, Madam Civil Party. Mr. President, I have no further questions. President: thank you. The floor is now given to the Defense Counsel for Khieu Samphan. You have the floor. Lawyer for Khieu Samphan. Thank you, Mr. President. I have no questions, Mr. President. President. Lastly, Madam Civil Party, you are given an opportunity to make a victim's impact statement, or do you have any questions to put to the accused? If you have, please proceed. Civil Party, I have a question for the accused. I had a chick. I took care of that chick, and when that chick died, I felt pain in my heart, and I have lost my parents, my siblings. I suffered much from that bad experience. During every time that I hold ceremonies, I feel pain in my heart. In my culture, we keep the holder of incense so that we could think of the dead people. And it is my proposal that this regime should not make that things happen. President, thank you, Madam Civil Party. The Chamber wishes to inform you that pursuant to Internal Rule 21(1)(d) of the ECCC, which says that at all stages of the proceedings, the Chamber shall inform you of the right of the accused to remain silent. On 8 January 2015, in response to the question of the Chamber, the co-accused reaffirmed their position to exercise their rights to remain silent. Also, during that hearing, the Chamber noted that the co-accused maintained their position to remain silent unless and until such time the Chamber is informed otherwise by the co-accused or their counsel. The Chamber on that day instructed the co-accused and or their counsel to inform the Chamber in a timely and efficient manner should the accused resolve to waive the rights to remain silent and be willing to respond to the questions by the bench or relevant parties at any stage of the proceedings. As of today, the Chamber is not informed that the co-accused have changed their position and thus agreed to provide their responses to the questions. In accordance with the applicable national and international law, the Chamber cannot compel the accused to respond to the questions as long as they do not agree to it while exercising their right to remain silent. I am grateful to you, Madame Ko Mui, for coming to make a victim's impact statement. You have stated that you went through the horrible experience in the democratic Cambodia. The hearings to hear your victim impact statement has now come to an end. Your presence here is not required now, so you may return to any places you wish to go, and I wish you good luck, good health, and prosperity in your life. Thank you, Maridat Tibiostar. Since you have to accompany another civil party in the next victim impact statement hearing, you are asked to remain seated. Court officer, please work with vessel to send Madame Ko Mui back to her residence or to any location she wishes to go, and please invite 2TCP 1014 into the civil party stand.
President, good afternoon, Mr. Civil Party. What is your name? Answer. My name is Uch Sun Lai. President, thank you. When were you born, Mr. Civil Party? I was born on Monday, 2nd October 1948. Question. Where is your current address? Answer. I lived in Phumwat village, Kraches commune, Kraches district, and Kraches province. President, thank you. What is your current occupation? Answer. I am a retired government officer. Question. What is your wife's name and how many children you have? My wife's name is San Kumni, and we had 3 children, and they were all killed during the Khmer Rouge regime. Question. Mr. Uchsen Lai, in your capacity as the civil party in front of this courtroom, you may make a victim's impact statement, if any, concerning the crimes which are alleged against the 2 accused, Nunji and Khieu Samphan, and harms inflicted upon you during the Democratic Cambodia regime from 17 April 1975 to 6 January 1979, resulting in your civil party application to claim collective and moral reparations for physical, material, or mental injuries as direct consequences of those crimes. And based on the request from the lead co-lawyer for civil party to put question to the civil party about the harm and suffering, therefore the chamber gives the floor first to the lead co-lawyer for civil party to put question. You may now proceed, lawyers.
Le Président, et je cède la parole à notre confrère.
I would like to give the floor to our colleague Wamper.
ខ្ញុំសូមប្រគល់វេទិកាទៅឲ្យសហសេវិករបស់ខ្ញុំដើម្បីធ្វើការងារនេះលោកប្រធានអរជំរាបអនុញ្ញាតសូមអញ្ជើញ
President, yes, your request is granted. Now the floor is given to Mr. Van Pau. Van Pau, good afternoon, Mr. President, and good morning, parties. Good afternoon, Mr. Utsun Lai. I received the information that your health is not well. Therefore, I will simplify my question related to the testimony about the harm and suffering. My first question to you is that in your civil party application, you mentioned that during the Democratic Cambodia regime, you lost members and relatives of your family, and the total number of people lost were 14 people, and those people included your wives, your 3 of your children, uncles, and relatives, and all of them were half-blooded Vietnamese. Therefore, I would like you to tell the chamber about the harms and suffering inflicted upon you related to the loss of your beloved children, wives, and relatives. And those lost relatives, and you told us that they were half-blooded Vietnamese. Answer. Good afternoon, the bench, Mr. President, and the bench, and all parties in this courtrooms. I lost my family members and relatives, altogether 14 people perished. All of, including my Chai Kam I, my father-in-law, Thibe, my mother-in-law, and she was half-blooded Vietnamese. And my wife, Sa Kam Ni, she could not speak Vietnamese. She studied in Cambodia and finished secondary school. And Sa Kam Na, my wife, younger sister, Sa Kam Na, Chai Chan Sambat, my children Sotira, Sotida. So I lost them all when the Khmer Rouge came to power. The Khmer Rouge first occupied Kraches, and it was there that the Khmer Rouge first started to prepare, organize the cooperatives and various units. And I was assigned to Kopi in 1973. And as my previous job in the old regime as the teacher came to an end at that time, and I started the cooperative life. When I lost my family members and relatives, my own father named Utsun Lee, who was a clergyman at the pagoda also died. He was killed because the Khmer Rouge witnessed that he practiced the Buddhist religion, and someone came to tell me that your father was so much believed in religion, and that's why he was arrested and sent to meet Buddha. I would like to tell the chamber that even lighting the incense to pay respect to Buddha, he was arrested for that simple reason. As for my wife, Sakamli, and other members, Sakamla, and the 3 children, they were evacuated to an island, and they were killed and pushed into the pit near the river bank. And later on, the river bank was flooded and the area fell into the river, and all their bones were also fell into the flood water of the river. Villager told me that it was a very pitiful that my children, they ran around when they were about to be killed, and they were swung against the tree and died instantly. They arrested the wives at the time when they sent the husband to cut the bamboo trees. Moon, the cooperative chief, assigned those who have Vietnamese wife to go and cut the bamboo tree at Old Chung, and that place was very far away. It took about 2 nights to get there, and I joined the journey. When I returned, I heard from people at the cooperative. They told me about what happened. They told us to prepare our emotion. Moon, the cooperative chief, said that you all had fulfilled a great task for the Angkar, and you sacrificed a lot for the labor and working class. But all of your wives were collected and taken away. I want all of you, comrades, to get rid of this wounded flesh. I heard about the purge, about the word smash. Now they use another word that is cutting away the wounded flesh. And he said that we need to maintain high sacrifice. And he required us to maintain high position, to maintain high sacrifice, and cutting off the wounded flesh, smelly flesh, in order to build the revolutionary labor class. I said what he instructed us to say, but in my heart I suffered a lot because I had very long souvenir and good memory with my family members, and at that time they were taken away and killed. So all this suffering and harms cannot be forgotten. Despite it's 30 years ago, despite the river water flew and taken away their bones along with the water, but I could never forget this. I suffered a lot. I would like to ask for apology and understanding from the chamber that I told about my suffering. And what even worse was that the Khmer Rouge distributed the clothes from those people they killed to people in the cooperatives. And I saw the clothes of my children and wives. And people in the cooperative could identify through the clothes that my wives and my children were really killed. I suffered so much that I could not eat and drink and sleep. And I tried to avoid myself to meet with any people, because the party instructed us that we had to keep high morality, high sacrifice for the purpose of the great party. So we could not let people see that we suffered or we had emotional problem. After my wife and children were taken away and killed, the cooperative secretary whispered to me that, Lai, you had to be careful because there's a letter sent to the cooperative. And I told him that, no, it's another person. That person is Nghiang Sun Lai, not me. And then he said that, no, it's you, Uch Sun Lai. So I felt very frightened when I saw this. And quite at night time, I felt frightened, and even when the mouse running in the house, I woke up and trembled because I knew that there were militiamen who patrol the area at night time. And at every of their meeting, they always raise the point of smashing the capitalist class, the feudalist class, and the oppressing class. At Kroko, which is my native place, I was evacuated and transferred to Nerum. My father was also transferred from Kroko to Chungkram. So all of this were harms and suffering inflicted upon me, and I remembered all of this until now. After 7 January 1979, I saw other people reunited with their family, but not for me. Council, Mr. Civil Party, please tell us about the suffering and harm as a result of losing your father. Answer. After the Khmer Rouge took away my Tibet, my mother-in-law, the cooperative chief
So at that time, 11 couples were asked to get married at Ko Phram. And at that time, I was told that I used to be a teacher, so I was responsible for arranging the wedding ceremony by placing on the wall a photo of a sickle and hammer representing the communist regime. And in that wedding, I saw the presence of my father-in-law, alias Samian E, in the meeting. A few months after my mother-in-law had been killed, my uncle arranged the marriage for my father-in-law. So my pain, the pain in my heart was compounded by that experience. So I feel pain, so much pain in my heart. I wept at that time. So at the time, I was talking to myself why the marriage was only held for 11 couples. And during the wedding, couples were asked to voice their commitments and to adhere to the policy or lines of the Democratic Cambodia. It was so sorry for my father-in-law. He was quite old at the time, and he was forced to remarry. And I was told that the revolution could not stop in the midway. Revolution had to go on. Everyone had to join the revolution. I was always criticized. You lie, teacher lie, should stop being in the mind of the previous regime. I was threatened to join with their group. By the time, many cadres had been killed as well by the northeast cadres, and later on the east cadres were killed by the southwest zone cadres. Lawyer. Mr. Civil Party, before your wife had been taken away to be killed, was there any meeting held to announce the plan to identify and kill the Vietnamese? Answer. In relation to the execution of Vietnamese people, they did not talk much. People were told to gather up at Coco Pagoda, where there were trucks waiting for them. Trucks were there to transport Vietnamese back to the country. Dây Hương, Kim Kong, Ta Ha, Dây Bê were there. Dây Bê was my mother-in-law. I did not see my relatives off. And what I know is that the people who had been sent to that pagoda had to board the truck in order that they could go back home. So no announcement was made prior to that incident. Lawyer. This is my last question for you, Mr. Civil Party. I want you to describe your feeling after the fall of Khmer Rouge time, during which other families could have a reunion of their families, but you did not have such a latitude. Answer. I felt hopeless after the regime fell. Why? Because my family members, my father died. They disappeared. My father-in-law disappeared. Sometimes I felt like I wanted to kill myself in order that I could see them in the next life. But at that time, I recall the theory, one theory that life is a struggle. We have to bear the situation to have the life going forward. And by 1979, I heard the sounds of explosion from afar. So it was the time that I knew that it was the Liberation Day. And those people, the cadre, tried at the time to evacuate the people to some other locations. I, at that time, told the Vietnamese troops that I was now alone, so was willing to stay with the Vietnamese troops so that I had a right to eat. So in 1989, Vietnamese troops went back to their country. Lawyer, thank you. Mr. Civil Party, Mr. President, I am done with the questioning. President, the floor is now given to the co-prosecutors to put questions to the civil party.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Civil Party. My name is Andrew Boyle, and I will be asking you a few questions on behalf of the co-prosecutors. Can you tell us again what village were you living in when your wife and children were taken to be killed?
Civil party. Thank you. My wife and children had been sent away to Kabal Koh Trong. That was the island. They were sent there. I was in Tul Monorom, Koko Commune, Kracheh District, Kracheh Province.
And during the period of democratic Kampuchea, were you ever aware of the Khmer Rouge conducting any sorts of investigations or asking any questions to determine who was of Vietnamese origin?
Answer. Regarding militiaman's investigation and investigation of Vietnamese people, in fact, my background was known before that time, and it was said that we had my body Vietnamese and Vietnamese mind. My father-in-law at that time that we did good deeds and with the Khmer people, so we would have a good luck. And my wife, Sa Kum Ni, although she was ethnically Vietnamese, she did not understand the Vietnamese language. And one time I asked her, did she understand the discussion among the Vietnamese people at the time when they had a argument? She said no, she did not understand.
Other than it being generally known that your wife had a Vietnamese background or ethnicity, were you aware of any other steps that the Khmer Rouge took to discover who else might be of Vietnamese origin?
Answer. Angkar assigned their workers to investigate who were Vietnamese. In fact, in villages and communes, cadres and Khmer Rouge were aware of the activities that we were doing and who belonged to whose families. For this reason, we decided not to escape to anywhere else, but to stay at our location.
Were there any other individuals who were arrested at the same time that your wife was arrested?
Answer. Not only my wife and children were sent to Koh Trong to be killed. Others, wives, other people together with the other children were sent away as well. Malayan, wife of Niang Kim, together with 2 children, Abarang and Srivej, were sent away. Family of Pot Nheo, Pa Ngun Seng, and other family members of Pu Sieng had been transferred out of the place and location. They were told that the wives were told that the husbands were assigned to climb up the sugar palm trees, but it was the pretext in order to send the family's members away.
And those other individuals who you just mentioned, were those wives also of Vietnamese ethnicity?
Answer. That is true. The children were half-blooded Vietnamese.
And can you clarify again when it was that your wife and these other women and their children were arrested?
Answer. Mothers, together with children, had been sent away, and at that time the husbands were sent away to climb up the sugar palm trees, and these people were put on carts and they were transported to the island, said civil party.
Do you recall what year this occurred?
Answer. It was during the time that the waters in Mekong River rise. It was perhaps in September. September was the month that the river waters rise.
In your civil party application, you state that it was September 1978. Is that what your recollection is here today?
Answer. It was in September. It was the flooding season. That is month that the water in Mekong River rose, and also the month that we celebrated the Buddhist rituals.
And do you confirm that it was in 1978?
Answer: that is true. It was in September 1978, said the civil party, when my wife, together with my children, had been sent away to be killed. It was in the flood season.
You stated that once you returned from cutting bamboo or climbing sugar palm trees, you were told by villagers that your wife and the other wives and your children had been taken away to be killed. Do you recall the names of the individuals that you talked to that told you this?
Answer: not one villager. Many other villagers told me. One survivor named Acha Phul. He is living in Koh Trong, Krocheh district, Krocheh province.
You state in your civil party application, this is document E3/4844, English ERN 009-82031, French 009-20490, and Khmer 005-27657. Quote, the sources of this detailed information are people living in Kabal Kaltrong who witnessed the killing, namely Ta Sen, who later became seriously ill and lost all his hair, and a man named Tol, who drove the ox cart carrying those women and children for execution to the forest. Does that refresh your memory that at least two of the individuals you spoke with were Ta Sen and Tol, who drove the ox cart carrying the women and children?
Answer: it is true what you quoted. Tol elaborated that incident to me. Tol suggested that a stupa should be built at one specific location. He hinted that point to me about the building of stupa, and I replied that I do not know yet whether the stupa will be built, and there is another person, but he or she is now deceased.
And these villagers that you spoke with, did they witness the killings themselves, or did they hear about the killings?
Answer: villagers did not witness the scene of execution. Militiamen went with the wives, went with the women and children. They went to the other side of the river bank. Only Tol was waiting at that location, and he was the one who witnessed the real incident. President, thank you, the Deputy Co-Prosecutor. Thank you, Mr. Och Sun Lai. The hearing of your statement and suffering as a civil party has not come to an end yet. You are therefore invited to come here once again to state your sufferings and injuries tomorrow at 9 a.m. I am grateful to Chai Malidat, the TPO staff, for assisting emotionally and physically to the civil party. You may be accused. Court officer, please work with the vessel to send the civil party back to the place where he is staying at the moment, and please invite him back into the courtroom tomorrow at 9 a.m. It is now a convenient time for the adjournment. The hearing will resume tomorrow, Wednesday, 2nd March 2016 at 9 a.m. And tomorrow, the chamber will continue hearing the suffering and harms of Ochsunhai as a civil party, and then start to hear 2 TCW 938 in relation to Old Kansai Security Center. Please be informed and be on time. Security personnel are instructed to bring the two accused, Nuo Jie and Kyo Sampon, back to the ECCC's detention facility and have them returned into the courtroom tomorrow before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.